No matter what you're looking for, you can probably find it in the Bible. A story about a guy making a couple of bears kill 42 children because they called him bald? That's in the Bible. Need a reason to kick people with weird feet out of church? Look no further than the Bible. It's a remarkably long book written and rewritten by dozens of different people over several centuries. It's almost impossible to keep track of everything contained inside the good book. With all the offbeat surprises hidden in the big book, it should come as no surprise that the Bible bestiary gets wonky at times. Sure, there are the animals that everybody remembers. Noah's floating menagerie of just everything, Jonah's whale, the lions in the den. But then there are the other guys. Strange, sometimes confusing creatures that would have even the best-read Sunday school teacher wondering whether they picked up a copy of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them by mistake. Here are some of the craziest creatures you'll find in the Bible. Ofanim. It's sort of common knowledge at this point that those white lady with wings angels that we all grew up with don't appear anywhere in the Bible. Angels are more of a culturally accepted shorthand than a straightforward adaptation of the source material. So why did artists across the centuries decide to depict the heavenly host as white-garbed, blonde-haired bird women and not the way they were described in the text? The answer might fall somewhere between, because the angels from the Bible would be harder to draw on church ceilings, and because if you saw pictures of what angels were supposed to look like, you'd mess your depends. By way of example, take the Ofanim first described in Ezekiel 1 verse 15. In Jewish tradition, there are 10 orders of angels, and the Ofanim are considered some of the most holy, second only to the Chayo HaKodesh who hold the throne of God. And brother, they're bananas. There's a lot to go into, and parts of the description come off a little like a fever dream, but essentially Ofanim are flaming gyroscopes covered in eyes, guarding God's seat of power. Behemoth. The behemoth is one of a handful of creatures in the Bible that historians have been arguing about for quite a while. Scholars can't agree on much about this puppy, but they know two things: he was big, and he had a belly button. The Book of Job describes the behemoth as a giant, reed-dwelling creature that's too powerful for anyone except God to control. Depending on the interpretation, it could drink an entire river, and its strength was significant enough to be worth mentioning 4 times in a single paragraph. But besides big and strong, the closest thing we get to a descriptor is a line about how his force is in the navel of his belly, meaning that, contrary to what some young Earth enthusiasts believe, whatever Job was describing probably wasn't a dinosaur, since animals that hatch from eggs are usually short on navels. So what could the behemoth have been? Most modern literal interpretations point to either a hippo or an elephant, but there's also some debate as to whether it was just a metaphor for the power of God. Leviathan. The second creature described in the behemoth passage of Job is the Leviathan, and where the behemoth leaves quite a bit of wiggle room for visual interpretation, the Leviathan is bizarrely well fleshed out, to the point of making the behemoth seem like an unloved afterthought. No, really. Job goes into staggering detail describing all of the wildly upsetting aspects of this creature's body. Whereas the behemoth is considered the beast of the land, the Leviathan calls the water his domain. It has double-thick armor plating running down its back and muscular folds all over its body. It breathes fire. Its skin is impenetrable, tough as stone. It is, in summation, hardcore rock and roll. Its name is synonymous with the unknowable, terrifying sea creatures that old sailors used to tell stories about, and that map makers marked on their maps with warnings of danger. There be monsters here. As with the behemoth, the Leviathan has been the subject of plenty of debate over the years. Unlike the behemoth, however, the language used to describe it doesn't leave a lot of room for poetic license. While people have theorized that it may have been a crocodile or a particularly crabby whale, it's a little difficult to square that with fire-breathing rock monster. The first beast of Revelation. If books of the Bible were kids in an 8th grade class photo, the Book of Revelation would be the one with too many safety pins in its sweatshirt and an X-Acto knife that he stole from art class stashed in his back pocket. Let's take a look inside his diary and see what sort of weirdness he's been cooking up. The descriptively named first beast is laid out for the reader in Revelation 13 verse 1. Also called the beast of the sea on account of its oceanic point of origin, it sports a flirty summer look featuring 10 horns with crowns on top of them, the name of blasphemy written across all 7 of its heads, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. It's also described as taking a lethal beating to one of its heads before miraculously healing itself, which apparently makes it very popular, since after that all the world wondered at the beast. The first beast pops up again a few pages later in Revelation 17 verses 7 to 18 when an angel pops its head in to explain that the creature was a metaphor for mountains and also a metaphor for kings, and also Revelation has never been the easiest nut to crack, you know?